Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, what's up? My name is Ashley. Today I'm super excited because I'm going to be showing you how to achieve this all matte look, and I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks to follow if you have dry, dehydrated skin like me. So if that sounds interesting to you, then just keep on watching, and if you enjoy this video or find it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my future uploads. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so when I'm doing a more matte look, I really want to make sure that my skin is nice and prepped and hydrated. So I'm going to go in with my Milani Supercharged Dewy Primer. I've been really loving this because it's not too heavy on the skin, but it really helps to keep my skin hydrated and plumped. And it gives your skin a nice glowy finish, but it doesn't have any visible glitter or sparkle or anything in it, which is nice. So I'm just going to rub that in and make sure that it's completely absorbed. And I also already have my moisturizer on my skin. It looks kind of like a lotion, just a white color, lotiony consistency. And it does have a slight fragrance. It smells citrusy, almost like oranges or something, but it's nothing overpowering, and it's not an artificial smell. It smells really nice actually, but if you are sensitive to fragrances, it's something to be aware of. And you can see it just gives your skin this beautiful glow, not sparkly, but just almost wet and plump looking. I don't know if you can tell on my skin, but it's very nice and subtle. And yeah, I really like it. So next for foundation, I want to go in with an oldie but a goodie. This is my Believe Beauty foundation. I have shade Ivory. This foundation is $5. It's from the Dollar General. If you haven't tried it yet, what are you doing? Because it is so amazing. This gives you medium to full coverage. It comes in a glass bottle. It has a pump, and the consistency is not too runny, but it's not too thick either. And also the finish is not too dewy, but it's not too matte either. So I think it's really great if you have more dry, dehydrated skin like me and you want to do a matte look. I wouldn't go in with a completely matte foundation right off the bat. I would go in with something a little bit more satin like this one, and then you can powder it to give you that matte finish. But if you go in with something that's too matte right away, it's gonna look very heavy on your skin probably. So I like to go in with something a little bit more hydrating, something dewy leaning satin. And I just like to pounce this into my skin with my beauty blender. I also find that the beauty blender gives you a little bit more of a skin-like hydrated finish as opposed to using a brush. It's going to be a little bit more heavy. Okay, so that's one pump of the foundation applied, and as you can see, it adds a really good amount of coverage. It's a good medium coverage, and with that glowy primer, I do still have a little bit of radiance to my skin, which I like, and on a normal basis, I would probably leave it like this. But since I'm gonna be doing a matte look, I'm gonna go in and powder later, so we're gonna lose that radiance. But just so you know, this is a very versatile foundation. So you can, make it a little bit more sheer and dewy, but you can also make it a little bit more full coverage and matte if that's what you prefer. So it's really, really, really good. So now that we have that all worked into the skin, let's go in with concealer. I'm gonna go in with my favorite concealer of all time. This is my Maybelline Fit Me. If you have dry skin, this is the best concealer that you can use. It's never drying under your eyes. It's super smooth, great coverage, good medium coverage. If you let it sit for a little while, you get even more coverage. This is one of those concealers that's also very versatile. It is more of a satin finish. It's not super dewy like the Tarte Creaseless Concealer where it looks like wet, but it's not really, really matte either like the CoverGirl concealer. I forget the name, but I'll pop a picture of it. It's not really matte like that either. It's somewhat in between. And so I guess that's kind of the theme of this tutorial is if you have dry, dehydrated skin like me and you want to do a more matte look, I would choose products that are a little bit more versatile, a little bit more satin leaning dewy rather than just going straight in with the matte, because it's easier to add matteness with the powder rather than like try to make it dewy if it's already really, really matte. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope so. But yeah, I'm just gonna let this sit on my face for a little while and then I'm gonna blend it out. So to blend that out, I'm gonna take my Morphe M173 brush and just gently sort of start patting it in. For some reason with matte looks, I feel like it looks better, on me at least, if it's more medium to full coverage. If I'm gonna do something that's sheer to light coverage, I just prefer it to be dewy because I feel like it looks more natural that way. But that's just my personal preference. So I am gonna be doing something a little bit more glam. It's gonna be more of a soft glam sort of look. That's why I'm using the brush, because I don't wanna really take away any of this coverage. And sometimes by using a sponge, you're going to inevitably pick up some of the product. So I really like this technique of using the brush to pat it in, because you're not picking up a lot of the product, you're just setting it in place. Also, to avoid a lot of brush strokes, I recommend using very, very light pressure. So I'm holding my brush on the tip and just gently sort of swiping where I feel like I need a little bit more blending going on. If I go too close, I'm gonna remove all of that product. So if I put too much pressure on this brush, it's just gonna create really, really harsh lines and remove all of that concealer. So when using a brush around your eyes, definitely pat and use the least amount of pressure as you can and hold your brush at the tip to avoid picking up product and removing coverage. Okay, I do feel like I need a little bit more coverage on my nose, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more there. And around my mouth as well. And then just to make sure everything is really, really smooth, I'm going to lightly go in with my beauty blender and just pat around the edges. So I'm barely applying any pressure, just gently, gently patting. Okay, I'm happy with how that's looking, so I'm actually gonna go in and set my face now. And if you have a dry, dehydrated skin like me, then I really recommend finding a good powder. Powder is key. It can make or break this look. So the powder that I really, really love, if you want a matte finish, is this powder from Thrive Cosmetics. This is their Soft Focus HD setting powder, and the reason why I love this is because it has hyaluronic acid in it. So while it sets your makeup and mattifies your skin, it still locks in the moisture with that hyaluronic acid. So it's not going to like suck your skin dry like a lot of powders can do. This one somehow mattifies you but also like keeps the moisture in there. So I really, really like it. It also has a really great blurring quality to it. It comes with this little net, so the application is super nice and clean. So I just tap my brush in. But yeah, I was saying it has like a blurring quality to it, which I really like. So around your pores and any texture you have, it's going to really smooth things out. So I really, really like it for that reason, because even though I do have dry skin, I do have larger pores. So sometimes when I'm using more radiant, dewy products, it can emphasize those pores. And that's why sometimes I love doing a matte look, because I love the blurred sort of look that it gives to my skin. And that's what this powder gives me. It gives me that blurring effect without drying my skin out or looking too heavy. The other powder that I really like is from Hourglass. It's their Ambient lighting powders, but as the name suggests, it's going to give you a more radiant finish. So it's a powder that sets your makeup, but it still kind of has a glowy sort of look to it. So I like those for days when I want my skin to have a little bit of a glow, but since we're doing a matte look today, that is why I opted for the Thrive powder. I'm just gonna pack a little bit more under my eyes because I am going to do my eyeshadow and I don't want to ruin this beautiful base we have going. Okay, so since we're here, I actually am gonna do eyeshadow, but before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and apply some brows. I'm just gonna do that quickly off camera and then I'll be right back. Okay, so brows are on and we're gonna do eyes next. So I'm just gonna take my Tati Beauty palette. Yeah. Woo! Almost dropped. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna take my Tati Beauty palette here. It's just a neutral palette, so you can really use any neutral palette in your collection that has matte shades. You don't have to use this one. I like this one because it's very pigmented, so it's really easy to work with, but yeah, you don't have to get this one. I'm going to first go in with this really light ivory kind of bone shade. Tap my brush in, and I'm gonna apply that all over the mobile lid. And I'm using pressing motions to really pack that color on. This color is really close to my skin tone, but it's a little bit more peachy. But you can just use white, an ivory, whatever, just any color that's a light neutral. Once that's placed, I'm just going to start slowly buffing that into my crease. For my crease shade, I'm gonna go with this matte toasty brown color here called Soothe. I'm gonna focus most of the pigment out here on this outer third. Then once I have less pigment on the brush, I'm going to start sweeping that in. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with the shade Ritual, which is just a dark brown, and I'm gonna start packing that on this outer corner in a diagonal sort of shape, focusing most of the pigment towards the lash line. Then I'm going to gently sweep it into my crease below where I applied that transition shade. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in with that Soothe shade just to blend around the edges. And again with Aura. And I'm just kind of going back and forth blending until I'm happy with how it looks. Okay, and then to finish up the eyes, I just added a little bit of Soothe to the lower lash line, and then on a very precise brush, I took Ritual and just pressed that right in between my lashes on the outer half of my eye. To finish up the eyes, I'm going to tightline, and then I'm going to add a pair of lashes, and I will be right back. Okay, so I just applied some of my Wet n Wild brown, Simma Brown Now eyeliner on my upper lash line, smudged it out, and on my waterline, and I applied some of my M Cosmetics mascara and then some false lashes. So now we're going to move on and complete the complexion. So for bronzer, I really want to use my Maybelline City bronzer. This is a matte bronzer, obviously, but it's super smooth and it doesn't look dry on your skin. I also really love the tone of this one. I have mine in the shade 100, and it almost has like a yellowy undertone, so it's not necessarily a contour, but it's not going to look super out of place or orange on your skin if you're more fair-skinned like I am. It's really, really smooth, and it blends super easily, and it just gives you that sun-kissed look without looking orange or too dark. It looks very natural on skin. So I'm just pressing that in around the hairline, here under the cheekbone. I'm gonna go along the jawline as well. And then also, so my nose doesn't look super out of place, I'm gonna take a fluffy brush and just do a slight nose contour. Not really contour because it's not a cool color, but just adding a little bit of something here, just so it's not super flat compared to the rest of my face. And I'm actually gonna sweep a little bit of that around my eyeshadow as well, just to make it a little bit more cohesive with the rest of the face. Pop a little bit under my lashes. I feel like it just ties everything together. I'm just going over with my powder brush. Okay, for blush, I want to go in with this Flower Beauty Paint Pots. This is in the shade Spice Petal. This is actually a new shade from them. And look how beautiful this flower design is. I love it. It's just so beautiful to look at. It makes me not even want to use it because it's so pretty. But I love these blushes because they are super pigmented and super easy to blend, but they are matte, so they don't enhance any texture on your face. So I love radiant blushes, but sometimes they can really enhance the pore, like my pores, because this is where most of my pores are, where I apply blush. So it's kind of like, I want to have the radiance, but I also don't want everyone like really staring at my pores. So I love these because they're just so soft, so pigmented. I mean, you can tell I just dipped in like 2 times and look how much blush I have. Like, this color is so beautiful. It's like a toasty pinky nude. It just looks super, super natural on your cheeks, and it just blurs any texture or lines you have. It's so pretty. And since I went a little bit crazy, I'm gonna go around the edges with my powder brush just to make sure I don't have any harsh lines. If you feel like you brought it up too high or down too low, you can always take a little bit more powder and sort of buff around that pigment to act as an eraser of sorts. Okay, so for lips, I want to go with my NYX Lip Liner in the shade Natural. This is a beautiful Your Lips But Better color. Sort of a pinky nude. Here, I'll swatch it for you. Super, super glidey, super pretty and natural. Just really a My Lips But Better color. I love these lip pencils because they're really, really affordable, and they last a pretty good amount of time for being so affordable, and they never tug or pull on your lips. I just love them. They come in a lot of really, really great colors too. I mean, look at that shade. How beautiful. It's just, it's not too much, but it's just enough. Okay, I feel like my forehead's looking a little bit unbalanced with the rest of my face. So I'm just taking my blush brush and I'm just applying whatever is left. I'm not adding any more product, but I'm just sweeping whatever's left around my forehead just to sort of balance things out a little bit. Okay, and now that the rest of my complexion and stuff is done, I feel like my brows have kind of gotten a little bit lost. So I'm going to go in and touch those up. And I'm just going to take the same brow pencil I was using before, which is my Milani Precision Brow Pencil. And I have mine in the shade Espresso. I really like this brow pencil because the tip is nice and tiny. The tip is nice and tiny. The color is nice and neutral. It's not too warm. And it has a good consistency. It's not too dry, but it's also not too creamy to where I feel like I have to be super, super careful with the amount of pressure I'm applying. It also lasts a pretty good amount of time in my brows. Brow products are one of those things that I never really feel like I have to spend a lot of money on because there's just so many good ones at the drugstore. And brush through that with my spoolie. Okay, and then to set the brows, I'm gonna go with my Essence Make Me Brow. This one is the tinted one in the shade 02 Brownie Brows. I sometimes go with the clear brow gel, but today I'm going with the tinted one just because my eyes are super intense, so I feel like I can go a little bit more intense on my brows. But the thing about this brow gel is you get a lot of product on the brush, so I always wipe it off a lot, and I never like press it really, really hard against my skin. I'm just barely touching the brow hairs because if you go in too heavy-handed, you're gonna get a lot of really big splotches. A lot of brown pigment all over your face, and you don't want that. But I love how tiny the applicator is. I love the color, and it really holds your brows in place. Okay, we got some really, really fluffy bushman brows going on today, but I kind of like it. I'm here for it. I feel like I need a little bit more going on in the lower lash line just to balance out these crazy lashes I have. So I'm going back in with Soothe on a more precise brush. I'm gonna be careful because I have some mascara on already. And I'm just intensifying that color a little. Okay, I feel like that looks a little bit more balanced now. So I am going to set the face, and this is an essential step if you have dry skin and you want to do a matte look. Now, you want to pick a setting spray that is somewhere in the middle. So you don't want to pick something that's like super, super dewy like the Catrice Prime and Fine. I love this setting spray, but it's gonna give you a more dewy finish. I mean, it says Dewy Glow Fixing Spray, so it's kind of obvious. Same thing with this Flower Beauty Seal the Deal Luminizing Spray. Those are great, but they're gonna give you a more luminous finish. So I would recommend going with something like the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray, or this right here that I'm going to use. This is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus 3-in-1 Primer Water. I have mine in the coconut scent, but I think they have like a cucumber one and maybe a rose one. I just prefer the coconut. But the thing I love about this and the Morphe one is that they set your makeup and help all of your powders melt into your skin and look skin-like, but they don't really mattify your skin, and they don't really like dewify your skin either. They're just like the perfect in-between. So I really love it because I don't want something super matte, because my face is already feeling pretty matte because I have dry skin. So with that powder, I'm pretty matte right now. So I need a little bit of hydration, but I don't want something too dewy to where it's just gonna erase all of that hard work that I did to make my face matte. So I'm going to apply this. I'm gonna be pretty liberal. Let that sort of dry. And then when everything's just about dry, I'm gonna go back in with my sponge and just gently pat everything into the skin. So yeah guys, this is the finished look. I really hope you enjoyed this video and like how the look turned out. If you found this video useful or helpful or entertaining, you can give it a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my future uploads. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.